Hey, welcome back to Garden Crumbs. I'm so glad you're here because today is one of those episodes I've been looking forward to for a long time. We're talking about June. We're talking about the garden in full swing, the sun doing its thing, the soil finally warm enough to actually get excited about. And if you've been sitting on the fence wondering what to plant right now, I need you to pull up a chair, grab your coffee, and listen close. Because what I'm about to share with you changed the way I garden forever. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. It's already June. Isn't it too late to start planting? Absolutely not. In fact, for a whole lot of crops, June is the sweet spot. And here's the thing about me. I'm not a gardener who wakes up at 5 in the morning to baby every single seedling. I'm what I call a strategic gardener. Some people might say lazy. I prefer efficient. I want to put things in the ground that keep giving back to me season after season with minimal fuss. And that is exactly what today's video is all about. I'm going to walk you through 9 crops that you can plant right now in June. Crops that, once they're established, will reward you with harvests that feel almost endless. Some of these are annuals that just keep pumping out food all summer long. Some are perennials that come back on their own every single year. And some of them, well, once you plant them, they basically take care of themselves. That's the dream, right? That is the lazy gardener's secret. So whether you're working with a big backyard, a raised bed setup, or even just a few containers on a patio, there's something in this list for you. Let's dig in. Pun absolutely intended. Number 1, sweet basil. We're kicking things off with basil, and I know some of you are rolling your eyes like, basil? Really? That's your big secret? But hear me out, because most people are growing basil wrong, and when you grow it right, this plant becomes an absolute workhorse in the garden. June is the perfect time to direct sow basil outdoors. The soil is warm, the nights are mild, and basil just explodes in that kind of weather. What I love about basil as a lazy gardener is the harvesting method. Every time you pinch off the top few inches, right above a leaf node, the plant branches out and gives you 2 new stems. So one plant, treated right, turns into a giant bushy machine that's constantly putting out fresh leaves from late June all the way until your first frost. The key is to never let it flower. The moment you see those little white flower clusters forming at the top, snap them off immediately. Flowering signals the plant that its job is done, seed production, and the leaves start to get bitter. Keep it from flowering, keep harvesting aggressively, and a single basil plant will produce more than you know what to do with. Plant it in full sun, water it at the base rather than overhead, and you're basically done. This is as low maintenance as it gets while still feeling like a real kitchen garden win. Number 2, cucumbers. June is hands down the best time to plant cucumbers, especially if you're in a region where spring is still a little unpredictable. Cucumbers are warm season lovers. They hate cold soil, they hate late frosts, and they grow incredibly fast once temperatures settle above 70 degrees Fahrenheit consistently. Here's my lazy gardener tip with cucumbers. Grow them vertically. I know not everyone has a trellis, but even a few wooden stakes and some garden twine is enough. When cucumbers climb, they take up way less ground space. The fruits hang straight and are easier to spot, and air circulation around the leaves dramatically reduces disease problems. You end up spending less time looking for hidden cucumbers and less time dealing with mildew. Once a cucumber plant gets going, it produces fast and heavy. And here's something people don't always realize. The more you harvest, the more it produces. If you leave a cucumber on the vine too long and it starts to yellow, the plant thinks it's done its reproductive job and it slows down production. Pick them young, pick them often, and the plant keeps pumping out new fruits all summer. Bush varieties are great if you're tight on space. Vining types like Marketmore or Straight 8 are fantastic for trellising. Either way, June planting means you're looking at your first harvest by mid to late July, and it won't stop until the heat really cranks up in August. Number 3, green beans. Green beans are the ultimate lazy gardener crop, and I say that with complete affection. You sow the seeds directly in the ground. No starting indoors, no transplanting, no fuss. You water them in, and within about 8 days, you've got sprouts pushing up through the soil. It's genuinely one of the most satisfying things in the garden. Bush beans are my go-to for June. They don't need any support, they grow in a compact little mound, and they produce all at once, which is great if you want to do a big harvest and then preserve or freeze a batch. If you want a continuous supply, just succession plant every 2 weeks. So a row now, another row in 2 weeks, another 2 weeks after that. By doing this, you stagger your harvests and you always have fresh beans coming in rather than a single overwhelming flush. Pole beans take a bit more time and need something to climb, but the payoff is a longer harvest window and typically higher total yield per plant. If you've got a fence or a trellis going to waste, pole beans will make great use of it. One thing I always tell new gardeners, beans fix nitrogen in the soil through their root system. That means they're actually improving your garden bed as they grow. After the season, chop the plants down and leave the roots in the ground. You're feeding your soil for next year's crops. Lazy gardening at its finest. Number 4. Summer squash and zucchini. If you have never grown zucchini, be warned. This plant is almost comically productive. I once went on a 4-day camping trip in July and came back to zucchinis the size of baseball bats. These things grow so fast it's borderline alarming. June is an ideal time to direct sow or transplant zucchini. 2 plants per household is genuinely enough. And I'm not joking about that. Plant 2 zucchini plants in June, and you will be giving bags of squash to your neighbors, your co-workers, and people you vaguely recognize from the grocery store. The lazy gardener approach here is to keep up with harvesting. Harvest when the squash is small, around 6 to 8 inches for zucchini, because that's when they taste the best and it keeps the plant focused on producing more rather than putting energy into maturing those giant ones. Zucchini does need consistent watering, and it can be susceptible to powdery mildew as summer gets humid. My trick is to water deeply but infrequently. I'm talking a long soak every few days rather than a light sprinkle every day. Deep watering encourages roots to go down rather than spreading near the surface, and deeper roots mean a more drought-tolerant, disease-resistant plant. Simple as that. Number 5. Swiss chard. Here's where we start getting into the crops that I think are genuinely underrated. Swiss chard is one of my absolute favorites, and it is shockingly easy to grow. It tolerates heat, it tolerates a little bit of cold, and it produces for months on end if you harvest it correctly. Plant Swiss chard now in June, and it will carry you all the way through summer and well into fall, sometimes even surviving your first light frost. The colorful varieties like rainbow chard are not just beautiful to look at, they're genuinely productive, and the leaves are delicious whether you eat them raw in salads when young or saute them with garlic and olive oil when they're more mature. The harvesting method is the same principle as basil. Always cut the outer leaves and leave the inner growth alone. The plant keeps sending up new leaves from the center. As long as you never take more than 1/3 of the plant at a time, it just keeps regenerating. This is the kind of crop that makes you feel like a genius gardener. You barely have to do anything and it just keeps feeding you. Number 6. Kale. I know. Kale has become a bit of a cliche at this point. But you know what? There's a reason it became popular, and that reason is because it is an absolute beast of a plant. Kale planted in June will give you harvests through summer, then hit its stride again when fall temperatures cool down. Because a light frost actually sweetens kale leaves significantly. Same harvesting technique applies here. Outer leaves first, inner leaves last. Start from the bottom of the plant and work your way up. One healthy kale plant, properly cared for, can produce for the better part of a year. Some of my kale plants have overwintered and come back the following spring to produce a second full season. Talk about getting your money's worth. Kale is also relatively pest resistant compared to a lot of brassicas. You might see some caterpillar damage from cabbage worm. If that happens, I just handpick them off rather than reaching for any sprays. Kale is tough enough to handle a little damage without missing a beat. Number 7. Cherry tomatoes. If I could only grow one tomato variety for the rest of my gardening life, it would be cherry tomatoes. They are faster to ripen than large fruited varieties. They are more forgiving of inconsistent watering, and they produce in such staggering quantities that you almost can't keep up with them. June transplanting, especially in zones 5 through 8, is perfect timing. You want your tomatoes in the ground after your last frost date, but while there's still plenty of season left. Cherry tomatoes planted in early June in most of the country will have you snacking off the vine by late July or early August. My lazy gardener approach to tomatoes is the stake and weave method for indeterminate varieties, or just a big sturdy cage for determinate ones. Get the support in early because trying to stake a sprawling 3-foot tomato plant after the fact is a nightmare. Pinch the suckers on indeterminate types, those little shoots that sprout in the crotch between the main stem and a branch, to keep the plant focused on fruit rather than endless foliage. Water deeply, mulch around the base to retain moisture and suppress weeds, and feed with a balanced fertilizer once a month. That's genuinely all you need to do, and the plant will reward you with more cherry tomatoes than you can reasonably eat fresh. Number 8. Nasturtiums. Now here's one that surprises people every time I bring it up in a gardening video. Nasturtiums. Most people think of nasturtiums as a decorative flower, and they are beautiful. Big, round leaves and those gorgeous trumpet-shaped blooms in orange, red, and yellow. But nasturtiums are entirely edible from top to bottom. The leaves, the flowers, the seeds, all of it. The leaves have a peppery kick that's fantastic in salads. The flowers make stunning garnishes. The unripe seeds can be pickled and used like capers. But here's the real lazy gardener reason to grow nasturtiums in June. They attract aphids. Before you close this video, let me explain. Aphids love nasturtiums. When you plant nasturtiums near your vegetables, the aphids go for the nasturtiums first, leaving your tomatoes, beans, and squash alone. It's called a trap crop, and it works beautifully. And when the nasturtiums get heavily infested, you just cut them back or pull them, aphids and all, and the problem walks itself right out of the garden. On top of that, nasturtiums thrive on neglect. Poor soil, inconsistent watering, full sun, they don't care. In fact, rich fertile soil makes them produce more leaves and fewer flowers. This is literally a plant that does better when you ignore it. Number 9. Perennial herbs. Oregano, thyme, and mint. I saved this category for last because it's the one that delivers the most long-term value for the least amount of ongoing work. Perennial herbs planted this June will come back every single year on their own. You plant them once, you let them establish over the summer, and they're yours. Essentially, forever. Oregano is one of the most heat-tolerant, drought-tolerant, pest-resistant plants in the entire garden. Once established, it practically takes care of itself. It spreads slowly over time, filling in gaps in your beds beautifully, and the flavor intensifies in hot, slightly stressful conditions, which is exactly what summer delivers. Thyme is similarly bulletproof. It forms a low, woody mat that's great at suppressing weeds, it has tiny leaves that dry beautifully, and in early summer it produces the most charming little pink and purple flowers that pollinators absolutely lose their minds over. And then there's mint, the wild card of the herb garden. I'll be upfront with you. Mint spreads aggressively. If you plant it directly in your garden bed with no containment, it will eventually try to take over. My solution, and the solution I recommend to every single person who asks me about mint, is to grow it in a container. Drop a large pot into your garden bed, fill it with potting mix, and plant your mint inside the pot. The walls of the container keep the runners contained while the plant still gets the benefit of being in your garden environment. You get all the mint you could ever want, and it doesn't swallow your other plants whole. Plant all 3 of these perennial herbs in June, water them in well, and then mostly leave them alone. By next spring, they'll wake up on their own and you'll have fresh herbs at your fingertips without spending a single dollar at the nursery or a single hour in the seed starting setup. That is the definition of the lazy gardener's lifetime harvest. So there you have it. 9 crops that you can get in the ground this June that will keep feeding you, keep rewarding you, and in many cases, keep coming back to you year after year. From the constantly productive basil to the self-seeding perennial herbs, every single one of these plants embodies what I truly believe good gardening is about: doing smart work once, and then letting nature do the heavy lifting. I want to be real with you for a second. You don't have to be some master gardener with a perfectly manicured plot to experience the joy of growing your own food. You just need to pick the right plants for the right season, put them in the ground at the right time, and get out of their way. June is your invitation to do exactly that. The soil is warm, the days are long, and every one of these 9 crops is ready and waiting to reward you for showing up. If you're new to the channel, I want you to know that this is what Garden Crumbs is all about. Real gardens, real results, no pretense. We're not here to grow perfect Instagram beds. We're here to grow food, build confidence, and enjoy the whole messy, beautiful process of connecting with the soil. That's it. Go ahead and drop a comment down below and tell me, which one of these 9 are you most excited to try this June? Are you a first-time gardener just getting started? Or have you been at this for years and you're adding something new to the rotation? I read every single comment, and I genuinely love hearing what you're growing out there. If this video helped you, hit that like button. It means the world to this little channel, and it helps other gardeners find their way here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is your sign. We've got a full summer of gardening content coming your way, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's next. Until then, get out there, get your hands in the dirt, and remember, the laziest gardener plants smart. I'll see you in the next one.